Good evening, and welcome back, my Drops of Shadow, to a very special episode and a return of Into the Shadows. So, tonight, it's rather special for me. One, because it's the first time I get a lovely 2-week break in between shows, which means I get time to think up some awesome stuff. I get time to really work on how best to approach several different topics, because let's face it, fear is a very interesting topic. It's very dynamic. It's very, multi-angled, as it were. But now that also means that I can have some special guests with me too. And tonight, boy, do I have one that I have to say I have been looking forward to throwing onto this show for the longest damn time. I want everybody here to show some love in the chat, as well as share it out left and right, because we've got Nigel damned Taylor with us tonight. Now, before anything else gets said, Nigel, one, happy as fuck to have you here.
Thank you.
Okay, that's definitely one. And two, well, seriously, slightly deformed heart. Also, folks, just in case you were wondering, yes, Kinko still needs help. So you see the PayPal link? You will definitely want to help them out. Don't let him think about medical bills and shit, man. Freaking, his situation, he's going to need all the help he can get. Don't forget, we're on Live 365. Check out Hellfire Radio there. We also broadcast at hellfireradio.com, as well as Twitch, as well as Instagram, as well as YouTube. And some of our shows are on Spotify now.
Oh, wow.
I know, right? It's weird.
That's cool.
And also, on the radio side, guess what? My voice is on it as well, to be able to get every single one of you to listen to Hellfire Radio by going tune in to Hellfire Radio. Enjoy every single show you can. So, with that being said, tonight's topic, and I felt that nobody would be better suited to talk about this particular topic, and tonight's topic is intimidation. Because, dear gods, you portray one of the most fucking intimidating figures in literature, in film. I'm pretty damn sure there are some comics out there as well. And even just in person, because I could say this. First time I met you a number of years back, this is me to you. You're a tall dude.
I'm 6'2".
You're 6, yeah. I'm a short little 5'8". I may be little, but I get angry. But still, they say anger comes in small packages and detonate really big. But damn, and I'm curious of a number of things with intimidation. You want to? Let me see here. We've got some chats going on. Holy goodness! Thank you, Paige. Thank you for tuning in. Elizabeth, Jeremy, Albert, Sheena, Carol, Gabby. Thank you all for tuning in. My goodness. And we've got some taggers going in here too, so that's always awesome. Zach, always good to see you. But, when it comes to intimidation in particular, did you, this is more of a question almost in a genesis of the character.
Okay.
Did you choose Snape, or did Snape choose you?
The whole origin of me as Snape is almost comical, really. I got a phone call from Perseus in Massachusetts, and yes, that's his real name. And
My hero.
Deathly Hallows 1 was coming out, and he was getting a few people together to dress up and go to the premiere. And he's like, "Do you want to come with?" And I was like, "Well, you already have a Snape in your group, and there's really no one else I could do." And I had never done any kind of impersonations or cosplay prior to this. This is really my first foray into it. And so I contacted Nikki Cohen of Mayfair Moon Corsets and said, "Can you make a Snape out for me? Can you make the jacket, the robes, the pants, the buttons, the whole 9 yards?" And she's like, "Yes, I'll do everything. And less than a month or so later, like, I had the full ensemble. Now, in my head, I was going to do this one movie, movie theater gathering, and then I would just have this cool outfit that I would wear maybe on stage, what have you. But in my mind, Snape for me was going to be a one-time event.
Mm.
There's gonna be this one, and there was a line, and people stood in line for over an hour to get their pictures taken with me. And I was very naive and very uh, unprepared for the draw and the magnetism to the Snape character.
Mhm.
And and so fast forward like a half a year or to a year later, I went to a convention in uh, in Florida. I think almost 2 years later, I went to a convention in Florida, and I
Mhm.
filled up a room with about 600 people to listen to me talk for like an hour. And I thought, again, rather naively, 20 people were going to show this panel. I thought honestly, like no one's going to come. And I walk up, and Mark, who does stuff, was presenting a panel, and he's a very, very talented individual, and he's on YouTube and Twitter and what have you. But the room was full, and there was this line, and my brain was thinking, oh, these poor people, they couldn't get in to see Mark. They're just stuck out in the hallway. And I said to one of them, what are you here for? Like, we're here for you. And I looked, and the line was just this huge line. Everybody left and got back, and the place filled up. Roughly 500 to 600 people in this auditorium. And I walked down the aisle after everybody was seated, and I got about midway through the room, and I went, silence! And you could have heard a pin drop. And somebody later asked me, "How do you do that?" And I said, "I didn't do that. Snape does that." You know? And that was sort of the birth. That was really the birth of the whole me doing Snape at events and things. It became the. I've been doing Snape for 9 years now, and almost 10 years, 9.5 years, and I chose Snape, but Snape brought out a lot of different aspects to my own character as I delved into that character. So there's a thing that I call Nigel, where the line gets blurred, between me and Snape. But definitely there's a when I leave my when I'm in outfit, when I'm in costume, when I'm garbed up, I'm on. And you get Snape until I'm not Snape. I do my hardest to not break character,
Mm.
and which is difficult sometimes because you know I'll never forget it. I did a talk in California, and I was backstage talking with the crew, and I was cutting up, and they were just cracking up, and they're like, "You can't go out there and be funny." I was like, "Watch me," and I did. I went out, and Snape has such. It's so easy to have such a beautiful dry wit, and the cool thing about doing Snip is because of his meter, because of the way that he talks, Alan Rickman. um, it allows you to think more. Alan Rickman when he was younger, he had a soft palate, so he
Mhm.
had to learn how to sort of speak better, and which is why his speech is so calculated. To He
Enunciates.
enunciates so clearly, and so that became the thing that I would do. I would slow my speech down, deepen my voice. I don't have the English accent, but I have the intonation. I spent a lot of time listening to Alan Rickman talk. I spent a lot of time studying his voice to get the intonation just right.
It's
And
incredible how you pull off it, because I mean, you say you don't do an English accent, and yet I swear sometimes I hear some of the pitch and timbre, because as I studied as a linguist when I was with the military, I wouldn't have guessed. So
yeah,
goes
thank you.
seriously.
So yeah, intimidation. It's funny because some people are overjoyed to meet me and see me. Now I'm very upfront about I was never in a film with them anyway. I've done movies, but very small independent things. But I'm very clear about where I am in the Harry Potter universe. But still, people are sometimes tremendously excited to meet me. And I've had people who can't speak when they meet me, people who will shake, like literally physically vibrate, you know. and it's funny. And I'll meet other Snapes because there's other people in the cosplay universe. I'll meet other people in character, and it's funny because they all try to out Snape me, and they all do this sort of angry, loud Snape, and I don't. I do this sort of mid-range Snape, and I don't worry about it because they're not going to.
I mean, you kind of set the freaking bar, to say the.
When I did my first Dragon Con 8 years ago, 9 years ago, when I did my first Dragon Con 9 years ago, um, Harry Potter was still, the universe was very active. The movies were still coming out, things were still happening, and there were a lot of cosplayers there in lots of Harry Potter outfits. And there was this one photo taken with me and like 7 other Snapes. And somebody had made a list of random things about Dragon Con, number this, blah, 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 number that, blah, blah, what have you. And one of the things they wrote down was the look on every Snape's face when Nigel walks by.
I can only imagine, because it's almost like, well, shit. Okay, if there's a contest, we lost.
And for that matter, I never do contests. The reason I don't do cosplay contests is very simple. One, I don't make my outfits; they're all custom made by designers. And two, Alan Rickman was also 6'2". I have enough facial features that I look enough like him to pull it off. It seems unfair.
Yeah.
So I'd rather people who make their own costumes and put all the elbow grease to do their thing. I'd rather they have their shot at accolades. So I never do contests.
What I would have done though, I would have you participate in the contest, but not as a contestant, but as a judge.
I've been a judge in contests. That I have done.
There you go. Because I mean, as I said before, when you were mentioning walking down the aisle, I'm like saying to myself, he's going to tell me he stormed down the aisle like Snape in his first scene when he was telling everybody, I don't want to deal with any bullshit. Almost, I don't want to deal with any bullshit. This
no
is
foolish wand waving your silly incantations in this class.
Yep. I'm like internally fangirling right now. So, I mean, the thing is that like your ability to be able to pull Snape off the way you did in many ways inspires people to, I guess you could say, embrace the idea of taking on a different persona or a persona that you admire in its own way.
One of the cool things about the Harry Potter universe is that you've got characters that are children, characters that are teens, characters that are adults, and characters that are, for all intent and purposes, senior citizens. So it's possible, it's very, very possible for people of all ages to dress up as characters from a franchise that they love. And I've met, there's McGonagall that I know, I think she lives in Florida, and she looks amazing. She looks amazing. Her outfits are incredible. She looks like McGonagall, but she smiles horrifically in every photo. And she can't help herself. She's having so much fun that she can't rein it in and be the stern McGonagall that it's really hard for her because she's just having a delightful time. Children love her. It's just, and it's an outlet. It's a creative outlet that you don't often get in other fandoms. I mean, there's lots of fandoms that are locked into brackets, but this fandom has the whole breadth of ages, and it makes it possible. Yes, you can walk by. It makes it possible for people of all ages to participate. That was Hillary's hand that you saw as she went by. The thing I enjoy about being Snape is no matter how little or how much I do, people get the full experience.
Yeah.
If people come to me and they ask me a question and I can go off and talk to them for some amount of time about what it is, that's all well and good. But if people come up to me and ask me a question and I don't want to deal with it, I can just simply go, no. And they're fine. They walk away happy. They've gotten their experience.
Yes.
And
it's incredible to see the look on people's faces when they met you, for
Mm-hmm.
starters. Okay, and there's few that my memory actually sticks together. But that I remember, and I also remember when I first met you,
Mm-hmm.
and I was craning my neck, keeping an eye on you, and then I tried taking a few steps back, so at least this way I could look you in the eye when I was talking at you, and it was it was almost like, I want to say, thrown me off
Mm-hmm.
because I heard Rickman coming out of your face, but then I heard Nigel come out of your face
Mm-hmm.
too, and my brain couldn't resolve it. It was almost like, no, that's Snape. Somebody's fucking with me. That's Snape. No, that's Snape. And I hated that I never got the chance to get a picture with you at that time. But I mean, I've been around celebrities,
Mm-hmm.
and for some reason, and I'm not blowing smoke up your ass when I say this, when I met you, it made my jaw hit the ground. And I think it was mostly because at the time I was trying to build my own persona
Uh-huh.
that has sort of a oily kind of intimidation factor to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm the resident vampire for Hellfire.
Yes.
So, and the evil hypnotist.
Mm-hmm.
I hold a world record in hypnotism, and I'm known as the most evil hypnotist in the world. So you're
That's impressive.
you're like a freaking father figure in its own right. But like, oh goodness gracious me, my dear.
I two things. I walked into a booth at a Renaissance fair a couple years ago,
What year?
and the New York Renaissance Fair, and it was 2 or 3 years ago. It was be 3 years ago now.
Really?
I walked into the Ren. Is it Ren Boots? I walked in the Ren Boots booth because I'm a
Mhm.
big fan of Ren Boots. They make great boots. They have great hats. I have a hat and boot and belt from them. And
Mhm.
but the girl who was working the booth was a Slytherin, and without even seeing me, she heard my voice. Went, "Is my headmaster here?"
I was with the fair that year.
And then what else was I gonna say? I had something else in
Mhm.
my mind. It just slipped out. It'll come back. But yeah, I really just lost a thought. Chemo brain.
It happens. I was
But
with the fair that year. I think I saw you.
I
I was.
I've gone to almost every year for the last 15 or more years. I've gone to the New York Ren Fair. I'm a big fan of it. Of course, now that I live in Delaware, I'm going to like PA and Maryland and those things. This year, everything got canceled.
Perfect.
I'm a performer. I'm actually a performer at the Midsummer Fantasy Renaissance Fair in Ansonia, Connecticut,
Mhm.
and I've been doing that for 3 years now.
Yep.
And
Check it out, folks.
yeah, the Midsummer Fantasy Renaissance Fair in Ansonia, Connecticut. It's the last weekend in June, the first 2 weeks of July. It's an amazing fair. It got canceled this year, like everything else, but
Harf is still going on.
yeah, Pennsylvania Ren Fair is going on. I've got a couple friends that are working it. Mark Donnelly is still there with Canes and Abel, and the leather workers are still there. I mean, I've got people that are there. I've been meaning to check with them to see how packed, how much attendance is there, because they're advertising limited attendance.
Mhm.
But how are they really controlling that? Like, how is that really? How is that really happening?
Uh, yeah, that's definitely something to look into. I mean, folks, if you're ever going to attend a Ren fair, always do your homework.
And
Hmm.
I love Ren fairs. Ren fairs in general. Like, I've never been to a Ren fair where I thought, like, well, this is awful. There are Ren fairs that are better than others,
Hmm.
but like the Ren fair experience in and of itself is just such a, you just let go of like the world outside.
Yeah.
You just let go of the daily 9 to 5 and the mundane world that exists outside the gates. You just let it go,
Mhm.
and you eat steak on a steak, and you say, my lord, my lady, and you drink mead, and you just have a good time. You know,
Interact with some of the
yeah,
people,
you
and
just interact with anybody, and it's I love the Fair Society. I love it, and I've been, like I said, I've been an attendee, and a Playtron, I think is the term,
Yeah.
for about 15 years now.
Yeah. I remember when I first started working for them back in the summer of 16.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like I said, you were an inspiration to a little bit of the behavior because they cast me as the French ambassador and they
Mm-hmm.
threw me in the royal court. And back then, what they did was they gave you purposely historical figures. So you had to do homework on who it was you were going to be playing as.
Yes.
Unfortunately, the person I was playing, everything that was written in medieval French and was written by him.
Ah.
And I found out the reason why, because he burned everything from French history during that time. This guy was scary enough to make Adolf go, dude, you seriously need to chill. He
Wow.
pulled a Kaiser Soze before Kaiser Soze was a thing. And that level of intimidation and having to push that with the kids
Mm-hmm.
and doing it in a Lumiere French accent for 10 hours of the day. You know, there's only so many ways you could tell somebody, I want to impale you on a stake and hang you out in front of everybody to a kid.
Yeah.
You know, it's.
I got booked to do an after prom party at a high school. Oh God, 6-7 years ago, and I work with a Jack Sparrow impersonator, Stephen Dapovitz, and the Pirate Empire is what I think his company is called, and but he books a lot of my Snape gigs. And so he contacted. He was doing Jack Sparrow for this prom party, and he contacted me like they have a Harry Potter room. They're looking for a Harry Potter character. You know, are you open? I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. And but it was like late in the middle of the night. It was like this is a prom after party, you know. So I get an email from this person at a high school, and they're like, well, what props do you have? I'm like, what props do I have? I wear a robe and I have a wand. I'm like, I'm pretty self-contained. I'm like, and they're like, well, what do you do exactly? And I swear to God, I wrote this back to them. I walk around, I intimidate children, and I'm highly sarcastic. And that's all I wrote. This is what I do. And they hired me. And I got to walk around a high school and be sarcastic to kids, and it was the best money I ever made. It was just, it's a good gig if you can get it. You know, but yeah, talk about intimidation. That's basically what I did. I walked through the hallways, very stern, and putting on the Snape robes, like it buttons up to here, so it forces you to take on it forces you physically to change. I stand more upright, my shoulders are more up, I have a more commanding presence when I'm Snape versus when I'm Nigel, and I'm more happy-go-lucky, and I'm very animated when I talk. When I talk, I'm hugely animated. Alan Rickman is not hugely animated, nor is Snape. And his movements are very subtle. And it's you might think you're up to something. It's very
Just the thing is that even so much as an eye twitch speaks Dickens length freaking paragraphs when you've got that down. So
it took a while to tone Nigel down and bring Snape out, and like I said, the first year I did it, I was probably smiling in every photo. Because this is so much fun, and it's a lot of fun, and I have, like you said, I have encouraged people to go out and do their own thing. What I didn't anticipate that I would do it for more than one night. I didn't anticipate I would ever do a panel, because I'll be honest with you, I usually avoid panels at conventions. They usually bore me. I'm not a big panel person. I'm just not. It's not my thing.
Doing them or attending them?
Both. Honestly, well, attending them, really. Attending them isn't really my thing. I find most panels are just a little. It's just drawn out, and you got 4 or 5 panelists, and they go off on tangents, and I get bored. And meaning no insult to people who present, meaning
Thank
no insult, because I've done panels and sometimes it's difficult to keep the momentum going,
you.
so I've seen it from both sides, and but I was, after doing a couple panels and talking to people, I used to sort of pick on Hufflepuffs because I thought it was kind of in character. And for the first couple years I did it, they were kind of the scapegoat. I mean, I would list off the three houses of Hogwarts. And then I'd pause and I'd wait for people to pick up that I haven't talked about Hufflepuffs. And Hufflepuff,
Mm.
and but then anti-bullying became a big thing. And then I thought to myself, well, I can't be an advocate for anti-bullying and still pick on Hufflepuffs. I've gotta. So then I adopted the mantra "Heroes in every house."
Mm.
The hashtag I use on a lot of my Instagram posts. Heroes in every house, which is to say there are heroes in Hufflepuff and there are heroes in Slytherin. There are heroes in every house, and the reason I advocate for that so much is I'm really every fandom has a plus side and a minus side. And the minus side to the Harry Potter fandom is people often look at Slytherins as inherently evil or inherently bad, and
Ambitious, that's all.
and we're not. We're not so one sided as that. And not for nothing, but I think, and Carol's going to give me grief for not knowing this. Peter Pettigrew, who was a turncoat, was either a Hufflepuff or a Gryffindor. He was one of the. He wasn't a Slytherin.
No.
You know,
I
and
think he was a Griff.
I think so. Carol will know.
Yeah.
And so there are corrupt people in every house, and there are heroes in every house, and that's what I pushed when I came to the anti-bullying campaign. And that became, again, that was something I never thought would happen. I never thought I'd stand up in front of people and give lectures on, how to be a decent person, you know,
Mm.
how to not be crap, how to treat people with dignity and respect. You know,
Yeah, I was right. He was a Griff, Carol says in the
yeah.
chat. Yeah. Well, I mean, if you really think about it, Snape in many ways is the pure embodiment of Slytherin. And when you have somebody that has that much, I guess you could call it snake to them,
Mhm.
okay, and still manages to push through as a hero, regardless of Snape's tragic
Mhm.
heroism, the fact that he managed to actually break through and still be a Slytherin,
Yeah.
it kind of shows you don't have to be a slave to your nature, just as long as you let your nature be your slave.
It's, there's a line that Sirius says to Harry, it's the choices we make that define us. And people give Snape a lot of grief for calling Lily a mudblood, but he did it when he was 15.
Yeah.
And not for nothing, Draco throws that word around like as popcorn. I mean, and nobody gives Draco grief for it. But the thing about Snape is, he made some bad decisions when he was a child, when he was young, and the jocks at the school, which James and Sirius were jocks, basically. They were popular. They were into sports. The jocks of the school, bullied Snape and made his life miserable. And he found he could commiserate with this group of people who became Death Eaters, But he found solace in this group of people who became, he became evil, became whatnot, and then he bowed out rather quickly, and then pledged his allegiance to Dumbledore and to the school and to save Harry Potter's life. And the thing is that he spent Harry didn't go to Hogwarts until he was 11. So there's 11 years that he's teaching, that he's still being a double agent. He's still hiding himself from every teacher and student at Hogwarts, and he's hiding himself from every Death Eater and person of that nature, and the Malfoys and what have you. And so when you get to the point where Harry comes to school, he can't show Harry any ounce of
Leeway.
fear or compassion or sympathy, because he knew, as Dumbledore knew, that eventually Voldemort was going to gain access to Harry's brain and thoughts, which he did.
Mhm.
And had Severus shown Harry empathy or compassion, Voldemort would have seen it, and the whole thing would be shot.
Yeah.
So he had to put on this. He had to put on this air. He had to put on this persona 24/7 on both sides of the coin. And there's a statement that Snape makes to Dumbledore much, much later in the series, where it's like, what makes you think I want to do this anymore?
Mhm.
And he basically tells Snape that Harry has to die. He's like, you're leading like a lamb to the slaughter. Like, Snape questions Dumbledore, and he questions, like, people often ask me, what's the most impactful line from the Harry Potter series? And they want me to say always. That's what they want me to say. And it's not, to me, always is a great word, and that moment's a great moment, but
Mhm.
that's not the most impactful moment in the series. To me, the most impactful moment in the series is when they're in the tower or the boathouse, depending on whether it's the book or the movie, and Malfoy's there, and the Death Eaters are there, and Snape is there, and Albus looks at Severus and he says, "Severus, please." Those two words, that one phrase, is so
Mm.
powerful because he's pleading for his life as far as the Death Eaters and the Malfoys are concerned, but he's asking Severus to actually kill him. To
Yes.
go forward with the plan. You have to take the plan from here on out. It's you. I'm going to die. And from here on out, you have to carry forward this plan that we've had for what is now 15, 17 years.
Yeah.
And so Severus Please is this multifaceted statement that is so weighted and an emotion. To me, that's the most
That's the tear jerking
that
moment.
that's the most powerful line of the entire series to me.
Yeah. I think that like every film has that one line, and a
Yeah,
lot of people will miss it. A lot of people will completely and totally disregard it for whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter the movie, it doesn't matter the film, it doesn't matter the book. There's always
yeah.
one line. Hell, I mean, the most potent line in the South Park movie,
Hmm.
if you actually pay attention, can bring tears to your eyes. You know what that was?
What?
Goodbye, you guys. Kenny's last words,
Yeah,
which are the first words he spoke unmuffled.
unmuffled. Yeah.
And you're seeing his face for the first time. That's impactful.
It is impactful. There are several moments in this series that are just really, really good.
Mhm.
Um, I'm going to really briefly talk about this just because I want to get it over and done with. Because I don't want to dwell on it.
Mhm.
But I'm going to talk about J.K. for a second,
Okay.
and I don't want to dwell on it. I don't want to drag it out, but I do want to touch on it for a second. Are you aware of what she's been saying and what she's been posting
Yeah.
and retweeting and what she supports? And JK has very much come out as a TERF, which is a trans exclusionary radical feminist, which basically boils down to they don't view transgendered women as women. And as a parent to a transgender male child, and as an uncle to a transgender male child, um, I take this very personally.
Naturally.
And there's lots of people who are abandoning the series. They're getting their tattoos tattooed over or erased, and they're throwing their books away. And they're what I mean. If you feel that's what you have to do, then that's what you have to do. I mean, I'm not going to judge you because that's your own personal choice.
Mhm.
I personally don't see it that way because I'm not going to have her rob me of so many good moments. I'm not
Right.
going to have her rob the fandom of so many good friendships and so many good moments and so many good experiences. And I view it like this. I view it as a train that's gone off the rails, and she no longer has control of it. The
Mhm.
fandom belongs to the fans now. We own it. We're very inclusive. We welcome everybody from the LGBT, Q community. We we welcome all races, all religions, all ethnicities. The fandom is all inclusive. JK can go sit on a twig. I mean, it just and again, if you fear supporting her is akin to supporting Chick-fil-A and their anti-homophobic. Like if you fear that your continued fandom is a support of her and you need to get rid of it, then do what you've got to do. But for me personally, I know too many people whose lives have been enriched because of the literacy, whose lives have been enriched because of the fandom, whose lives have been enriched through the films or the parks or the experiences they've had with other fans. And I'm not going to have that taken away from me. I'm not going to lose that. And I wish my wish for the other fans is that they see it that way and that they cling to the parts that are positive
Mhm.
and fruitful, and they cling to those things that bring joy to their lives. And Harry Potter will always bring joy to my life, which is weird because I'm Snape, but
Yeah.
but it will always bring joy to my life. But
Yes. It's derision, like joy.
joy. But that's my hope for the fandom, that they cling to those things that are positive and they take from it the things that are healthy, and they leave behind J.K. Rowling's Twitter account and anything she says.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it from a standpoint of the good that the art does lets it stand on its own, mind not who held the paintbrush to the canvas.
I had a very interesting conversation with Shakespeare on Shakespeare's Coffee Break earlier this week. We were discussing death of the author, which is very much this sort of thing. And because social media is so vastly different than it was 5 years ago, let alone 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. Like when I was a teenager, like, you got a magazine once a month, Star Hits or Smash Hits, which was for me, the magazine that brought all the English artists to America, but you only get it once a month. And you get these interviews, and you would read them with such fervor. And now, like, I could tweet something and I could have somebody famous respond to me today, and it's so vastly different. And famous people, celebrities can interact with their fans almost immediately, which is a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
And you know Sean Connery likes to hit women. He has been very open and honest about it. Barbara Walters, years later, re-interviewed him and gave him a chance to recant, and he didn't. He's like, sometimes they want to get the last word in. You got to give them a good backhand smack. Sean Connery likes to hit women. John Lennon liked to hit women. But we didn't know these things actively at the time. H.P. Lovecraft, I think, is an amazing author, but he's a xenophobe and a homophobe and a racist.
Yeah.
You know,
You
but
know, people.
I love his art. I love his literature. But we didn't learn a lot of things about him until well after the fact. So now you've got two ways of looking at things. You've got people who are no longer with us, John Lennon, Lovecraft,
Mhm.
this people, and you've got people who are with us to this day, J.K. Rowling and what have you. You know,
The mag-
how do we treat their artwork? How do we treat their artwork knowing the true nature of the artist?
Mm. And are you going to judge the artwork based on the artist, or are you going to judge the artwork on its own merit?
On its own merit, exactly.
The magnifying glass has gotten bigger,
Way bigger.
way bigger, and it's to a point right now where even the smallest detail about somebody, someone will lead a crusade against. And
Oh yeah,
yeah, it's bad.
I
It
I got accused of
it's
being what
intimidating.
was it? I got accused of being transphobic once because it was ridiculous. The reason behind it was ridiculous. I had reposted. Somebody had posted this thing with Klinger from MASH in a dress that if Disney bought the rights to MASH, would Klinger become a Disney princess? It was just a joke. It was a joke, little meme. There's no meat in the pie. Like it's just, it was a little ha ha funny thing that somebody posted, and I reposted it because I thought it was funny. And then somebody came after me calling me a transphobe, and I'm like, you realize my son is transgender, right? And so I sent it because I can't speak for the transgender community because I'm not. So I thought, you know what? Out of fairness, I'll send it to my son and see if my son Aiden is upset in any way, shape, or form. And he's like,
Mhm.
no, I think it's funny. He's like, Dad. He's like, some people are just assholes. I'm sorry. Can I say that in your broadcast?
I've said fuck at least 7 times since this broadcast began. I'm pretty damn sure you're good. I mean, for
Okay.
Christ's sakes, Nigel, I'm from Jersey. If I don't say fuck, I'm thinking I'm not using my punctuation.
Yeah, use your punctuation correctly. So yeah, so I sent it to Aiden. Aiden's like, he's like, Dad, some people just want to be assholes. He's like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So I figure if my transgender son isn't offended, then I've got nothing to worry about.
There you go.
You know?
It comes down to an idea that because people are under a microscope
Mm-hmm.
a lot more potently these days, you know, you got a lot of tiptoeing going on.
You do.
And the ability to be able to really speak your mind
Mm-hmm.
becomes like waltzing across a freaking minefield and hoping you don't get blown up. You know, it's scary.
It is scary, and I've had to learn over the years. I mean, I've been doing music since 1992, and I've had to learn over the years what to say and what not to say, or when to say it, when not to say it. I have blurted out some of the most horrible things, and thank God I've only been quoted a rare few times because I have accidentally said some pretty horrific things, and I'll tell you off camera when we're not online because I don't want that story to go out. But 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 I have in my years, you know, there's the ever famous line with great with great power comes great responsibility, and the truth behind that is that you know I have to realize, after honestly realize that I am to some degree a celebrity of sorts, and that I hold a certain amount of weight or power to what I say and to whom I say it to, and I can't just be all willy nilly. I have to pay attention to what I say because some will quote me or will quote me to someone else and it'll do that game of telephone and pumping purple monkey dishwasher is the next best thing that I've said,
Yeah.
and, so I was at an 80s show in Providence, Rhode Island, 3.5 years ago, and Paul Young and Midge were no, Midge wasn't at that show. It was Paul Young, Men Without Hats,
I'm
Modern
listening. I'm just going to grab myself.
Katrina and the Waves, all these 80 bands, and Howard Jones was there. And I go to the front of the stage in a little pit, and I told Hillary because I knew different members of different bands. I told Hillary, it's like, well, I know this person, that person, but they may not remember me, or it's not a big deal, and blah blah blah, and what have you. And as the show is happening, as the show is going on, there are people coming on stage, and they're like, "Hey, Nigel," and they're waving to me. And Howard Jones comes out, waves to me, and shakes my hand. And Ivan from Men Without Hats comes over and shakes my hand. And the keyboardists from both bands are all like, "Hey, Nigel, hey, and hi." And Hillary's like, "Yeah, right. No one's gonna remember you, huh?" And like 3 or 4 different bands are all like paying me from the stage. They're like, "Hey, Nigel's here," and whatnot. And the drummer for Howard Jones, I didn't know her, but we were making really good eye contact. We were clearly connecting from the stage to the audience. And when the show's over, Katie, the drummer for Howard, came up and introduced herself. We had a great talk, and she's a phenomenal drummer and great. And like I said, I knew members of different bands and whatnot, and they came over and said hi and goodbye and whatnot. And there was a group of people right behind me, and I could hear them talking. And there's about 5 or 6 of them in the group, and they're like, "Is he? I think he's famous. Is he famous? He looks famous." And I could hear them talking. So I turn around, and they're right behind me. They're literally right behind me. So I turn around, like, "Listen, I can hear you talking." And like, let me put it to you this way: you know how Kathy Griffin always says she's a D-list celebrity? I'm like a Q-list celebrity. Like I'm in the alphabet, but I'm like really far down. You know, I'm really far down.
You're Charlie list, okay? And I put Charlie for cosplay, for character.
And
Okay?
I got to I had a bucket list, and meeting Simple Minds was on my bucket list, and they played this show in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania last year, and I got tickets to go to the show, but I couldn't afford the VIP stuff. Well, one of my friends in Massachusetts, Holly Aber in Massachusetts, she wrote the tour manager and said, "My friend has stage 4 cancer. It's on his bucket list to meet Simple Minds. Is there anything you can do? He has tickets for the show, but is there anything you can do?" Like, no problem. We'll get him a VIP thing. He can come early. He'll get all the VIP perks. He'll get the backstage pass. He'll get to see the private show for the fans only, and I'll get to take the photo with the band. And she's like, phenomenal. So she sends me this, well, I had to go way earlier, which meant Hillary couldn't go with me because she had work or school. She had school. So she
Right.
couldn't go with me. So I'm like, well, who am I going to get a last minute notice to go with me to see Simple Minds? She's like, well, ask my dad. So I asked her dad, and her dad's like, yeah, I'll go. He knew one song by Simple Minds. He knew Don't You Forget About Me, and that was it.
Yeah.
So it took it over an hour to get there. So I brought along 2 CDs of Simple Minds, disc of their older stuff and disc of their greatest hits. And I played nothing but Simple Minds on the way up. Well, her dad loved them. He's like, I'm loving all this music. So we get there, we go through all the VIP stuff, we get our photos taken, we meet the band, it's great. You know, and as we're leaving, after the full concert's over, the house lights come on, as we're leaving, 2 people in the audience come up to me and they're like, we know we know who you are. And I'm like, in my brain, I'm thinking, I look enough like Alan Rickman. I always dress to the nines. So I look enough like Snape that they're getting a Snape vibe.
Yeah.
And they're thinking, and they're like, Platform One. Like you're the lead singer of Platform One. And Hillary's dad is like, holy crap, how famous are you?
There you go. By the way, check out their shit. It's good shit. Seriously.
So if you do look up Platform One online, for those of you who aren't familiar with my band, if you look up Platform One online, it's Platform One on Facebook. It's Platform One Videos, I think, on YouTube. And it's Platform 01 on Instagram and Twitter.
There you go.
I am Sir Nigel Taylor on Facebook and on Instagram and possibly Twitter. I might be Sir Nigel Taylor on Twitter too. I try to keep it consistent to make it easier for people.
Yeah.
If you look up Platform One, you're going to find 2 Platform Ones, 3 women from South Africa, and 3 pasty white people from America. This is not my band. This is.
There you go.
So just
he can, Tristan.
Occasionally we get emails like, oh, can you send me Haruma Makata? I'm like, you have the wrong band. Yeah, meaning, and if I'm butchering up somebody else's language, I apologize. But occasionally I get these random emails like, and it's half an African, and I'm like, it's not me. And I don't know how you don't get it. Like you go to the Facebook page and it's clearly 3 white people. And I'm like, how are you? How are you not seeing that we're not African? Like, how are you missing the mark?
You never know. I mean, it's a thing. I mean, sometimes when a person encounters celebrities, they end up, I don't want to say like almost tributing, because I'm pretty damn sure people have come up to you and they said, I dig your band. It's all kinds of awesome. You look just like Snape. Not knowing one aspect or the other.
Not knowing that I do. Yeah. Yep. That's absolutely happened.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a funny story I met with a celebrity, but I could always talk about it off camera unless you want to hear this one.
You have what?
I have only one funny celebrity story.
Sure. Go ahead.
All right. Comic-Con about a good 15, 20 years ago up in New York. Some of the fans here in the comments have heard this story. Others have not. And I was still at the height of my voice acting career. And Mark Hamill was signing autographs. Walked up to his booth, And he said, "Okay, who do I make this out to?" And I said, "Hello, I'm the Joker." And
Yeah.
he, "No, I'm the Joker." I went, "No, I'm the Joker." He went, "Harley, somebody's impersonating me again." He laughed and he said, "You're awesome." I'm like, "No, you're awesome." And then he said, "We're not doing this again." Got a picture with him with it, got the autograph, and he's like saying, "If you ever want to do something like that again, that's the perfect way to get a celebrity smile." And I'm like,
That's
okay,
fantastic.
that was like ultimate heart warmth right there. So, you know,
One of the
I'm sorry.
the girls that Harry and Ron go with these two Middle Eastern women to the dance, and one of the actresses who played one of those two characters had been at a Harry Potter convention, and she'd seen me, and she told her handler, I need to take a photo with him because he's Snape, you know, and it was really cool to have somebody from the films be that excited
Mm.
to meet me. I've met a few different characters from the films. I met young Lily, and I met young James, and Chris Rankin. Chris Rankin and I are actually friends now. Chris Rankin plays Percy Weasley, or head boy from the first couple of films. When I was laid up in the hospital the first time around, I was in the hospital for like about 19 days, and Chris Rankin reached out to me personally to see how I was doing, and that meant a lot to me that he was that well invested in our actual friendship, not just oh you're a fan, but like oh you know we actually are
That's
friends.
my buddy, man. I gotta like check in on him, see how he's doing.
One of the things I like to talk about, a quote, is Midge Ure. And Midge Ure, for those who don't know, is lead singer of an 80s band called Ultravox. And Midge Ure has played with everyone. Mark Knopfler, Brian May of Queen, Elton John, Paul McCartney, Howard Jones, Phil Collins, you know, to name a few. Like he's literally played with everybody.
Melodic resonance.
I mean, his the roster of people he's performed with is huge. And me, I played with Midge Ure 3 times now, and it blows my mind that I'm standing on stage playing guitar next to a guy who's played guitar with like Paul McCartney. Like it just but Midge Ure talks about meeting David Bowie, and you talk about intimidation. You're going to talk about intimidation. You're meeting David Bowie. David Bowie is. I say this about Peter Gabriel. Like they've gone beyond a musician where they've become part of music themselves. Like they just embody it. You know, they can't help but be this creative entity in the universe. You know, and David Bowie certainly was. He was a creative force in fashion and in music and in film. He's just tremendous. And Midge Ure said that it's rare. It's so rare in life that you get to meet your childhood idols. It's so rare that you actually get to meet them face to face and firsthand, and it's even rarer if you do so that it's such a good experience.
Yeah, they say don't meet your heroes.
They say that all the time, and I have had bad experiences with celebrities and musicians, and that have let me down. Robin Hitchcock. Robin Hitchcock was a complete disappointment. He was just disdainful. I'm regretful that I ever met him because I really like his work. I'm really a fan of his music. Meeting him was such a disappointment to me. You know, he was miserable. And maybe he had a bad day, who knows, but Midge just like, meeting David Bowie was such a good experience.
Right.
And it was such a positive experience to meet your childhood idol and have it be such a heartwarming, genuine experience. And I told Midge, like, that's what I feel between you and I. Like, I've been following your career since '85. And, the first time I met him was '99, and I was a little starstruck. I met Julian Lennon. Julian Lennon is the only person I've ever met where I was truly starstruck, where I couldn't speak for like a second. Like, I just got a little tongue tied, because this is as close to a Beatles I'm ever going to get, I'm a fan of Julian Lennon's work. I don't do the thing that everybody does. Oh, you're John Lennon's son. I really am a fan of Julian Lennon's work. But and if you want to hear a beautiful song, Julian Lennon does a song called "Saltwater."
Hmm.
Beautiful, beautiful song, and it's on YouTube. There's actually a video for it. "Saltwater" by Julian Lennon. It's just a beautiful piece of music. But anyhow, yeah, it's I don't get intimidated by celebrities anymore. I guess it's because in some weird way I kind of am one. Um,
Not a weird way. You are one. Deal with it.
it,
You've
it
been stained with the celebrity star.
Allison's so funny. Allison, she's like, they're called fans, Nigel. You should get used to this.
Yeah.
Um,
I can only hope to gain such a stain.
it's for the longest time. And I'll tell you this: in the beginning of Platform One, I was so shy and nervous that in between songs there'd be no banter. I wouldn't talk to the audience. I was so nervous that I would turn around and walk to the back of the stage, and the song would start, and then I would go back to the mic and sing, and the song would finish, and I'd turn around and walk to the back of the stage again. Like I couldn't interact with the crowd. I was so nervous, and after shows, I would hide backstage. I wouldn't go to the merch table. I wouldn't go out. I was so nervous. And finally, Allison was like, there are people at the booth who want to meet you. There are people who want your autograph, who want photos. You have to go out there. She's like, you have to go out there.
Yeah.
And we opened for Covenant in Boston, and it was a great show. It was a great show. And I asked the bartenders, like, how many shows have you done here where both bands were all in suits and ties? And she's like, this is the first one. And because Covenant likes to dress up, and Platform One dresses up and whatnot. And so we're backstage with Covenant, which is kind of awesome in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
And I go downstairs and I go to the merch table. I'm signing autographs and selling merchandise and doing whatever. And before the show, one of my friends had texted me, and they're like, "We're stuck outside in a line." She's like, "I can't believe I have to wait in a line to see you." She's like, "I can't believe I have to wait in a line to see like one of my best friends." She's like, "It's so weird that I have to stand in line to see you." She's like, "Yeah, I've known you for years. Like, this is just, you
You
know,
have a fan base.
And
Weird.
then after the show, these two people came up to me, and they're like, "We came from Florida to see you guys." And my brain went, "We came from Florida to see Covenant, and you guys are also good." That's what my brain said.
Right.
But what they said was, "We came up from Florida to see you." And I looked, and they had Platform One bumper stickers and Platform One, T-shirts and Platform One CDs and Platform One dog tags. And they had like all the Platform One merch you could get. And I'm like, holy hell, I wouldn't come up from Florida to see me.
Yeah, it's a little jarring. It is,
It is.
And even the slightest bit of it will throw somebody off if they're not used to it. I'm still thrown off that I've got like 5 people that usually show up in my streams, and I'm like, wait, I've got a fan base?
You have a slow growing fan base. And the thing is, the longer you keep doing it, the more
Mm-hmm.
fans you're going to get. And it may take a long time, or it may happen spontaneously, but the more you keep doing this, you're going to get more and more people talking about it, tuning in, watching it after the fact. Like, it's you've already got fans. There's only one way to go from here.
Up.
And I mean, I do what I do, and I love what I do. Like, I listen to old Platform music, and I'm a fan of my band. I listen to the old songs from days gone by, and I'm like, I still like it. I'm like, I still like this song. I still like this music. Like, and I know artists, like, as soon as they're done with an album, they hate it. And I'm like, I don't understand you.
I guess a lot of people they delve into it because they figure, okay, I'm good at it. I can make some money doing it.
I mean, there's a song I don't like. There's a Platform One song I really don't like, but it's on. Oh God, Carol's gonna kill me. It's on Confessions of the Sorrow Tree. No, it's not. It's on The Other Side of December. It's on The Other Side of December, and it's so far away, and I really don't like the song. I don't like the song. I don't like So Far Away. For those of you who have The Other Side of December and you like the song, kudos to you. Have a great day with it. I hate the song. And I hate the song because it wasn't supposed to be that song. And here's a little insider trading tip for you. If you listen to the song Valentine, which is on The Last Cathedral, and you listen to So Far Away, they're almost identical. They're almost the same song. And the reason being is I wanted to do Valentine back in the day, and my guitarist hated the word Valentine, and he threw a hissy fit. And so we rewrote the song and came up with So Far Away using pre-existing lyrics that I already had. Like I was able to patch it together and make it work. He also has one line of the song, one of the vocals is fully distorted, and I don't like distorted vocals. So there's two things happening in So Far Away. One, it wasn't supposed to be that song, and two, there's distorted vocals, and I can't stand distorted vocals. If you listen to Valentine on The Last Cathedral, that's what that song should have been. And I love Valentine. Valentine, to me, it's a much better song. The chorus flows a lot better. The song just feels better. You know, it's the song that should have been, and I'm glad that we were finally able to do it and give it its proper place.
It's always, it's definitely, an absolute truth to hold on to.
We are working on our sixth studio album, which is going to be. I want to oversell it.
Sell it, man, because we're coming up near the end of the cast, so plug away like crazy, man.
I don't want to oversell it, but in my mind, this album is a cross between the album Pornography and the album Disintegration by The Cure. It's a combination of those two albums. It's going to be a lot about cancer, and there are obvious reasons for that. It's going to be a lot about my struggle, but yeah, it's going to be we've got most of it written. There's a few tracks I've got to flush out, but most of it's written. It's not recorded in the cans yet, but it's getting there. But our sixth studio album, I haven't decided on a working title yet even. I have Vulnerus. Oh my god! Again, Carol's going to kill me for forgetting this. Vulnerus. Oh my god! Hang on one second.
No problem.
I'm gonna go. I have to look at my own thing.
Hey,
you recognize my face? Thank you. Give me one quick second.
Take your time, there, boss. This is the last show of the evening, so we can go over a little bit. It's no problem.
Okay, Vulnera Senentur. Vulnera Senentur is the working title. I'm gonna.
Okay.
That is the working title for the album. It is the counter spell to oh my god, Nigel. Sectum Sempra. It's the counter spell to Sectum Sempra. It's actually a spell that you have to sing. You have to sing it 3 times in order for it to work. And it's a healing spell, which is used to heal severe wounds or cuts. And Sectum Sempra does severe wounds or slashes to the body. Vulnera Sentura is the healing spell that sutures up and heals those wounds. And for very obvious reasons, that's why that's the working title for the album. I'm now covered in stitches and scars from various surgeries, and so that phrase became very important to me in my struggle. So
all I can say is that you put yourself into your work, and your work in turn pushes you forth. That being said, do you got anything else you want to plug?
I mean, as always, I intend on doing more live broadcasts as both Sir Nigel Taylor and Vladimir Snape. So if you're not following either of those two pages on Facebook, please do. Sir Nigel Taylor, Vladimir Snape, and Platform Zero One are all on Instagram and Twitter. Platform One Band, or I think, is on Facebook, and Platform Videos is, I think, the YouTube channel. Like I said, also iTunes and Amazon and Bandcamp. The combination of those three sites will get you the most comprehensive library of platform music that's out there. So please go to iTunes or Amazon or Bandcamp and look up Platform One. You'll find me and a South African band. Feel free to buy both. I don't know. But yeah, that's pretty much the general gist of it. I do have a side project called Seven Dream Seven, which is me working with different people musically. So that's on Facebook. It only exists on Facebook, so you can fan Seven Dream Seven and pick up on little weird tidbits that I do. It's usually little offshoots of the band and what have you. And again, next year when fairs reopen, please go to the Midsummer Fantasy Renaissance Fair, as I am apparently a Midsummer Fantasy Renaissance Fair performer.
There you go.
So
we got somebody.
I don't know if we really copied your topic quite well or not. I don't know if I did it justice. I hope so.
You so did, because intimidation is all about embodiment of character. And you seriously covered that like crazy. Not to mention the fact that you talked about intimidation in personal life itself, but still drove you forward.
It was intimidating or daunting when I first got the diagnosis. I went black. I went dark for 2 or 3 days. I went completely dark on all social medias, and my bandmates were like, "You don't have to go public with this." They're like, "You don't have to tell people." And I'm like, you know what? I advocate so strongly for facing, the obstacles in life and the various challenges that life brings, and it feels disingenuous for me to do that and not be honest about what I'm going through. So I need to be upfront and honest about it. I will, in a complete sort of disclosure, like when I have my really, really bad days, I'm more vacant. I'm more absent from social media. When I have my really bad days, when the nausea or the body functions are off the charts, things really bad, I recoil and I draw within and I watch music videos and I try to get in a better headspace. But for the most part, I'm pretty honest about what I go through.
Yeah. I mean, how we face life's challenges is truly what defines us. And I say that you have defined yourself quite effectively. You've snaked the shit out of your cancer.
I'm doing my best.
We've got a question in here. I believe Tristan's asked if he could ask you something. I'm just waiting for him to throw down the question.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of folks here, we've got someone from the Netherlands here saying goodnight. We got a couple of people saying they're like your greatest fan ever. I know I've got a crap ton of other people in here that are like, like, oh my God. And the only thing I'm thinking to myself is, I'm like, yes, I'm oh my God. You know what I mean? But then somebody had the balls to say my two favorite people, and I'm like, no. Don't pay attention. No, pay attention to the magician behind the curtain. And it throws me off because this is straight up honest. I did not think that you'd be able to do this. I did not think that you would say yes to it. So I was like, fuck it. Let me fire it off because I am one of the few people that survived his personal Facebook purge. So let's see, and okay, here we go. He says, what made you want to do music? Who inspired you? And what made you want to act?
Oh, wow. Okay, let's start with the first part. Who made me want to do music? I was a Beatles fan and a Kiss fan at a very young age. Ace Frehley of Kiss, the guitarist. I wanted to be him so very badly when I was young. The moment that it changed for me is July 15th. Oh my God, yes. July 13th of 1985 is the moment that everything changed for me, which is Live Aid. If you don't know what Live Aid is, look it up online. It's was a huge concert, over 180 countries, 120 countries, over 18 hours of music. But that's where I first saw Midge and Ultravox. It's also where I first saw Bob Geldof and the Boomtown Rats, and I realized that music can really help people. Music can really benefit people. And to this day, the Live Aid Band Aid Trust Fund raises millions of dollars for famine relief in to this day for famine relief in Ethiopia. And so seeing those musical performers at that young age really made me want to do music. Acting was accidental. I was going to do music for a film, and then they wanted me to do a role, and then it became like the lead role somehow. I don't know how that happened, but I really enjoy acting. I enjoy getting into character and not being myself, really. Somebody asked me, a fellow actor who's gone through courses and classes, a fellow actor once asked me, "How do you do it?" I said, "I just forget to be me." And they're like, that's what most classes will teach you. They're like, you're already there. Allison got me into acting, and it's funny because of cancer and various moves, I was unable to continue acting in the capacity that I had been doing it. But Allison became a regular on Gotham and a couple other series. So if you watch one of the last seasons of Gotham, she's a reoccurring extra in like 5 or 7 episodes or more.
Hey, there you go.
So yeah, did I answer that?
I think you did. Yeah, I think
Oh,
you
and real quick, on the Mid-Year tangent, when I was in the hospital, the song that I sing the most in my head to get me through the nightmare that was becoming my life, Mid-Year has a song called "I See Hope in the Morning Light." And I would walk through the hallways of the hospital pushing my IV along, singing 80s songs, not exactly to myself, singing them kind of out loud, but I see hope in the morning light. It was a song that kept it got me through so much. So my hope is that my music or my acting or my advocacy, something that I do at some point will help someone in the way that music and people's performances have helped me.
Nigel, not for nothing. You just defined yourself as a vampire because that's how immature. That's how our immortality works.
Mm-hmm.
You make an impact in one person's life, you officially live a lot longer than you expected.
That's my hope. That I have it in my. It's going to be in my will that Allison inherits Platform One when I go, and she'll inherit the hassle of keeping the band on iTunes and whatnot. I mean, there will come a time when that stops. I know that, but it'll be long after I'm gone. I have a very candid way of speaking about my mortality. So if it's upsetting to anybody, I apologize. But yeah, you're right. It's and not for nothing. I just got sent to me a copy of The Only Lovers Left Alive, which I hear is a really, really good vampire film. It's also in the subtext. It's also about music primarily. That's what I hear anyway. I haven't seen it yet. I'm super excited to watch it. But I hear it has a lot to do with the music subculture and vampirism. And I can't think of a better movie for me to watch. So
it's like better than Queen of the Damned, I can tell you that.
Queen of the Damned is a fantastic film as long as you don't realize there's a book.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like
there's a book, it's a great film. If you know there's a book and you've read it, the film isn't so good anymore.
Yeah.
But if you completely disassociate it from the book, it's a great film.
Yeah.
But you can't link it to the book because it's too disconnected. Online, they just share a title and that's it.
Yeah, I would have to. It's sad, All right, quick. I got 2 questions for you too. Okay, in relation to film and whatnot, because I gotta.
Mm-hmm.
One, who was the better Lestat, Cruise or that other schmuck?
The other schmuck.
The other schmuck was a better Lestat.
What's his name? John. It's sorry, something Stewart or Stewart something. Anyhow, yeah, he was a better stat. And
He was
and
a
and,
better stat.
and here's why. Tom Cruise's dye jobber wig looked awful, and he didn't look young enough. He didn't exude the youth that
Mm.
character needed. Um, in my personal opinion, um, back when the first movie came out, the actor they should have cast, Julian Sands.
Yes.
Julian Sands is like, he's Lestat. In my mind, he would have made the perfect Lestat. One, he's a natural blonde. And and two, he's English. He's already got a different accent going on. And he's a phenomenal actor.
Yes. I
Julian
loved him
Sands
a
was
lot.
a great actor.
Yes. He definitely pulls it off in
I
almost.
think he's a very underrated actor. I really do.
They say sometimes the most underrated actors are the best ones.
He called me a year ago. True story. A friend of mine had gone to a horror convention, and Julian Sands was signing autographs. And she talked to him. She got him to sign an autograph for me. And she told him about my cancer, my story. And he's like, does he want me? Would you like me to call him? So he used her phone. So and I'm sitting here watching TV, and I got this phone call from Beth, and for a second I was going to answer. I'm like, well, Beth never calls me, so I better pick it up. And I pick it up, and I get this, hello, Nigel, this is Julian Sands. And I'm like, oh crap. And so we talked for about 4 or 5 minutes, nothing big. He just asked me how I was doing and what was going on with my situation. And he's like, you got a lot of friends that obviously care a lot about you. And he's like, I think you're going to do well. And he wished me well. And that was it. It was a lovely, and I hung up the phone and I looked at Hillary, who was sitting next to me. It's like, I just got off the phone with Julian Sands. She's like, you did not. Like, yeah, I just got off the phone with Julian Sands.
Oh, man. All right. Second question. Have you seen Freddy versus Jason?
Yeah.
Who won?
Ooh.
Great divide in the horror community.
Always ambiguous. I always want to say Jason won. But the ending is so ambiguous. I think it's like listen to Freddy's head wink or something. There's this weird sort of, it's not over. It's not over ending.
My argument to both points. In that particular bit, I got a good argument, and this tends to win it. Okay. My more response to that is usually, if you have a Western gunfight and two gunfighters are on either end of the road, the first person to fall and die is the one that lost. And in that film, Jason died first. Jason didn't kill Freddy. Super Tits with the freaking machete is what killed him. Okay? That's the The other one is a lot more definitive if you think about it. On the DVD, they have the alternate ending. Okay? They shot two endings. One ending, the one that was in the theaters, Freddy winks, which means it's ambiguous.
Yeah, that's the one I would call the best.
Okay? The second one, however, have you seen the second ending?
I don't know. I'm looking to see if I have Freddy v. Jason in my collection. And Jason v. Freddy, sorry. I don't think I know. I have Jason X. That's it. I don't own a lot of Jason movies.
It's all right.
So yeah, I don't own it. So I haven't seen the other. I haven't seen the other ending.
Alternate ending. Freddy won, hands down, no ambiguity. Freddy won. So you got ambiguous, nobody really won, and Freddy won. So you got to ask yourself, if the writers and directors couldn't put in and film a definitive Jason won scenario, then there's no way in hell Jason won.
See, here's my personal opinion as to why Jason won. Because Jason's inherently evil. And Freddy's just like a stand-up comic. Like Freddy loses a lot of integrity for me. And the movie is very camp and whatnot. Whereas Jason just kills.
Jason is a killing machine. There is no doubt about it. But Jason is mindless, which means he has no morality to him.
Exactly.
In which reason there can't be evil. Because evil is a corruption of morality for the sake of its own. I mean,
well, if you backtrack it back to when he was a child and abused and abandoned, then he always contribute his descent into insanity or evil into that.
Mm-hmm.
Because he doesn't become supernatural until like the third or fourth film.
And the third film is the second film is the first time we actually see him
Uh,
as like, the main antagonist.
First
First one was Pamela Voorhees.
one is his mother. Second
Mhm.
film is third one is Tommy, right?
No, Tommy didn't show up until six.
No, it's earlier than that, I think.
Mm.
Because he's a kid in one of them. Because what's
He's
his
in,
name? The child
he's
actor plays him.
he's in the fourth one because the fifth one is when it wasn't Jason at all.
It's Tommy. The fifth one is Tommy. He's in that
Mhm.
school for misbehaving kids,
Yeah,
the summer camp, and
he's
it's
a
actually
kid.
him and not Jason.
Yeah, and then he comes back in the sixth, and it's this thin geeky kid with glasses, and in the seventh
Yeah.
he's the jock.
Yeah.
And you had the whole it's a Frankenstein tribute with the whole
Yeah.
being struck by lightning to come up
Yeah.
and
He doesn't become supernatural like the third or fourth film. Like he's just a guy like the first couple films.
yeah, in the first couple of films he's just a dude, but
Yeah.
I mean even then once they took off the fact that it was this at the sixth film
Yeah.
when okay he's dead,
Mm-hmm.
if he's coming back he can't possibly be human, he's supernatural.
What's your thoughts on Jason X?
I liked Jason X for two reasons. One, they still got hot.
I think it's a fun film.
I think it's great. One, you have Hodder still
Mhm.
as Jason, and two, and this is the big one. It's the first time until you see Freddy versus Jason, but it's the 1st time you actually see legitimate emotion in Jason's face, with the exception of maybe one small scene in Friday 7.
Mm-hmm.
All right, in Friday 7, when the mask gets split and you see like the mangled mask that it is.
Yes, it is his face.
He looks at the female protagonist and you could see him like taking in a deep breath because he's like pissed, grabs the thing that's there and rips it off, and he's just giving her this like, oh, you just did the wrong thing, and then starts dousing him telekinetically with the gasoline. He sees the fire and looks at her, and you could see the emotion on his face. He's like, don't you fucking dare.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about it, and then gets lit up. That scene in particular is special because to this day, I think it holds the record for somebody the longest in a fire suit that was on fire.
Uh-huh.
And Hodder was doing that. And then in Jason X, when he finally comes out as Uber Jason, and you see the red eyes,
yeah,
you could tell, oh, you fucked up.
You done messed up, buddy. You done fucked up.
I mean, in Freddy versus Jason, it wasn't so much in the eyes. It was in the body language during the fight scene when they're both in the real world, because you could see Jason wasn't there to kill him. He was there to inflict the most pain as possible, as seen by the window pane slide.
Yes.
You know, that's like, okay, you pissed me off. I'm not happy about this, so I'm going to make you hurt. But, I mean, in regards to Freddy's camp, you have to look at it like this. Jason will walk up to you, slash you, then walk away, and then go back to sleep, okay? Until mommy tells him to wake back up.
Yes.
So it's basically nothing more than a computer that gets inputted, wake up, and then go forward, okay? Freddy's the kind of person that'll walk up to you, play with you a little bit, slash you around, and then tap dance on your corpse while laughing. That's evil and a villain. Because even if you have a deep-seated appreciation for evil, if you're on the ground as a corpse and you see this guy laughing and dancing, you can't help but say to yourself, okay, that was kind of awesome.
Do we have time for me to ask you a two-part question?
Sure, ask.
Okay. I have an issue with evil that doubts itself. And a lot of writers will write this into the script. And this is my problem with characters like Lestat or characters like the Nemesis and Resident Evil, where there's humanity left in it. And there's always this sort of humanity complex where evil has to deal with its waning humanity and trepidation. And it'll go from this sort of killing evil motif to this sort of, oh, I need to reflect for a moment on my humanity and decide, and I hate that so much. Like when you create the Nemesis, like I just want it to be the Nemesis. I just want it to be Jason. I just want it to be a killing thing with no with no humanity left in it whatsoever.
Right.
So what's your thoughts on evil characters that have to that deal with their inherent humanity?
I think the thing is that when you look at evil, okay, usually it's motivated by a violation of a person's own perception of their own morality. If you look at it, I mean, let's take a look at Freddy, for example. Okay, he was a kid that went through the system. Okay, got abused as an abused child to the point where Alice Cooper was his freaking adoptive father at one point in Nightmare Six. And Nightmare 6.
Yeah.
Okay, he had to learn how to be able to survive from that. Okay, learn once you realize the nature of pain, then you can use it.
Mm-hmm.
Quote. All right. You see flashbacks of him as a kid where he's constantly being berated by children until he has to do something as a shock value to get them to stop.
Yeah.
You have, in a way, a sense of a corruption of innocence.
Mm-hmm.
And regardless of how far back or how ungerminated that seed of innocence and good is in somebody, it's still there.
Okay.
And how it can completely corrupt. And when you're dealing with evil that stems with still that seed of good in there, you see the person make the conscious choice to go bad anyway, despite the good. It makes it a lot more genuine than somebody that straight up is just murderous evil or just plain murderous, because in a way that's not so much evil as it is a sociopathy. It's I don't know any better. All I know is kill.
Now, having said that, here's the second part. My favorite vampire is my favorite vampire for the very reason that he doesn't suffer morality.
Ooh.
He doesn't suffer morality. He never questions his motives. He never has that reflective pause. He knows what he wants, and he just does what it takes to achieve that. Period. Okay. And he never wavers, even when it comes to killing members of his own family. Victor, from the Underworld series.
Okay. There's motivations behind there, though.
There are. But and one, Bill Nighy is an incredible actor. To think of the roles he's done and the comedic roles he's done, and then you see him as this. You want to talk about intimidation? Victor is an intimidating character.
Oh, yes.
Like that character, like he just comes on screen, and you instantly know who the boss figure is on screen.
Oh yeah, it's like seeing Charles dance on the screen.
Yeah, you see it, and you immediately know. That's the one.
Yeah,
you know.
I mean, in the case of Victor, though, he's a product of his time and environment. If you think about it, when he was made a vampire. Okay, he was made a vampire in early medieval Europe.
Mm-hmm.
He was a lord, in which case then he already has a flawed sense of who is better or not, who is superior or not.
Oh yeah, his sense of entitlement's been set.
And the thing is that his sense of entitlement in and of itself merely evolved from I am a nobleman of the land, you all serve me, to I am a noble of the land, you all serve me as my dinner. He gained a new form of his own morality, because let's face it, back then, people of that noble class didn't see anything wrong with doing X, Y, or Z. And it was never modified, especially when they started to come up with a pact where every century or every 2 centuries, they change up roles as to who's asleep. Because you had Amelia, you had Victor, and you had God, what the fuck is his name?
What's his name?
Yeah. And the thing is that while 2 are asleep, 1 is ruling.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you see all 3, I think, in the second Underworld film. So,
I think so.
In that particular case, he's still a product of his time. They haven't come up with the idea of, okay, 2 of us sleep, 1 of us rules. And in that case, guess what? I have no reason to change. He hasn't had an opportunity to see things on a more even keel. Now, if he was in a land where there's nobles, he has no desire to go against them. Remember, when he first got woken up, he got pissed off that he got woken up.
Oh, yeah.
Someone else should have been the one in charge. Despite his disparaging towards the other guy, He was like, no, it's not my turn.
Yep.
So you still have that morality. And in his mind, he has to, in a way, decide, okay, I got to clean up this mess. I got to fix whatever the hell it is. And the morality in and of himself of taking Celine in, okay, again, it's a cripple of the morality. He turned something that was useless in his mind as food into something that he could use.
I have one more, and I'll make this the last thing. I promise. I have one more question and comment, and I'm going to rant about somebody for a second.
Please.
Why do you think it is that they can't make a good vampire movie that remains a horror film? Like Underworld became a series of action films. A lot of Resident Evil became an action film. You know, why is it they can't make a vampire film and maintain it as a horror film without making it an action film? And here's and before you answer that, I'm going to bitch about Tom Cruise for a second.
Okay.
Because he's an awful person, and he's not the world's best actor. He's an awful person, and he ruined something that was going to be, God willing, so amazing for us, and he took it away. I'm talking about Dark Universe. Universal Monsters, which a lot of old-time horror fans, you know, there's two schools of thought. There's Hammer and there's Universal, you know, and you either love one or the other or both. In my case, I love both. But Universal Monsters, you had Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Dracula, the Werewolf, the Mummy. Your key six figures. Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, the first seven. Those are your key main components of the Universal Monster universe. And when The Mummy, the most recent version of The Mummy was coming out, they were going to relaunch what they were going to call Dark Universe, which is going to be the rebranding of the Universal Monsters. They were going to bring back Creature from the Black Lagoon, Frankenstein, Dracula, etc. They're going to bring all those back, and The Mummy was the launch pad for that. Except that Tom Cruise didn't want to make a horror film. Tom Cruise wanted to make an action film, and Tom Cruise ended up getting 100% creative control over the film and took the film into a completely different direction. Now, if you watch the film, the effects for the Mummy are amazing. It looks phenomenal. She looks incredible. The aesthetic is great. The Dr. Jekyll character,
Jekyll and Hyde. It was very well.
That's cool. And if you look at like the artifacts in his museum, you'll see like a Creature of the Black Museum, like footprint or something. Like you see different little pieces, and you get to sort of like little like previews to what the universe is to come, which is never going to happen now because the movie didn't do that well. And it didn't do that well because it wasn't what we wanted. We wanted the Dark Universe. We wanted that horror film with that mummy that looks so creepy. What we got was, you know, Mission Impossible.
Egypt.
Yeah. That's basically what we got. We got Mission Impossible Egypt edition.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, The Mummy with Brendan Fraser is a better movie, you know, and it's not a horror film. It's an action film, you know, and it's very much an Indiana Jones-esque mummy film. I love the Brendan Fraser films. I will never badmouth those movies. Even the third one has merit, you know. But the first two are phenomenal. But why is it we can't have a horror franchise that remains a horror franchise? Why do they have to become action films?
I can explain it. I can explain it very easily.
Okay.
It's because people's concept of what actually scares them has changed over the years. If you really think about it, take a look at vampires in particular. What was fearful for people back in the day about vampires is somebody that can come into your room uninvited. Someone that could control your mind. A creature that could infect you with something that in turn could eventually cause you to go against those that you love. And a lot of the individual metaphors that a lot of the powers that be were.
Just the thought of being undead was creepy back then. Yeah.
But you got these days now where science can explain about 99.9% of things away. The idea of somebody being in your room, well, the possibility of somebody actually doing that is near nil.
Mm-hmm.
Mind control, it's a scientific thing that really hypnosis can only work if you want it to. So there is no unwilling mind control. You got so many of the tropes have either been completely and totally disparaged because there's no mystery behind them. And ultimately, the truth with fear is a lack of knowledge of the unknown and an execution of it in a way that a person can relate to it. Too many people these days can relate to a lot of the things that scared people back in the day. Lycanthropy. You got people that glorify werewolves. Who's going to be afraid of one? They're going to take one look at it and be like, ooh, puppy. People take a look at vampires and they're like, okay, let me go wring out my panties. You've got Creature from the Black Lagoon are like, well, you want to know what? Let me get my shotgun and that's it. Hasta lasagna, don't get on you.
Yeah.
And the Mummy, it's like, well, they've already emptied out all the Egyptian tombs. What the hell could they possibly find? And who's going to curse me? Because I've got about 30 or 40 different Wiccan charms around me that could completely counter it. Hasta done.
Can I, I'm going to ask you a favor, actually, because we should probably wrap this up. Is it possible you could have me back on for another episode? I would like to do an episode on fear.
Absolutely.
I'd like to do an episode on just the construct and concept of fear. I think it's, you touched upon the things that scared us in the 40s and 50s.
Mm-hmm.
Is the thing that scares us now, and how to make fear relevant in a modern society.
We could do it in 2 weeks.
Let's do that. Let's come back in 2 weeks and do one on fear.
Fantastic. You just offered me a very awesome end card here. So, folks, I want to thank you all for tuning in. Nigel, oh, God. Thank you. Everybody, you want to know what? Seriously, check out everything that got plugged earlier. I highly recommend. Okay? Give 5 stars. 5 billion thumbs up. All right? And tune in about 2 weeks for the next episode of Into the Shadows, where, again, we will have Nigel Taylor. And we will do a deep dive into fear in general and a hell of a lot of ambiguity. So, as I always say to you folks, good night, sleep tight, and if you ask very nicely, perhaps I'll bite. Good night.